No, lots of guidelines. I mean, you don't get, one of the things, you don't get good content unless you create the structure to and be precise about what you're asking for. But what we saw over time was that folks who were successful and good, they decided to quit their job, or they decided to take leave from their job, and they would come to Chicago. And so, if I had, there's probably 6 or 7 people on staff in Chicago at headquarters who were doing this kind of stuff, another 4 or 5 out on the road. But then we had another 10 who just showed up in Chicago and said, I want to help. And so we could send them out to travel, send them out to places like Colorado to shoot that guy, where the candidate wasn't even there, right? We were sending people out to cover pieces of the campaign that had nothing to do with the candidate. And that's how we got, that the Rising Sun, the end bumper, like a volunteer made that who just showed up in Chicago and said, I have these skills, how can I use it? And so we had him make that bumper, but then we had to make one for all of the battleground states, and we had to make one for, Women for Obama and Veterans for Obama, so that all of the content we produced for all these niche audiences also had that same sort of polish and branding and consistency. I think that, again, the sort of takeaway here is, like, if you want to do something, if there's a cause that you believe in, if there's an organization that you believe in that should be doing better and should be doing better at telling its story and the story of all the people who are participating, like, you can go in and as one person or a couple of people make a huge, huge difference in the organization, how the public perceives it, how its members perceive it, and really the relationship that it has with all the people who are involved.
Are those guys still doing stuff for Obama, and you guys still got a team, or how's that?
Yeah, it's there's a couple of different teams now. So there's a couple who went into the White House, and so if you look at the White House website, you'll see not just Barack Obama talking directly to people, sort of direct-to-camera style, but also some short documentaries about the healthcare process, for example. So they have a healthcare summit where they're talking about the issues. The team at the White House drops in profiles, somebody tells their story, mashes that together with the policy rollout, and sort of creating some content there. There's also the political side. So at the party now, which is where the political side of everything lives, there's some video and storytelling component there. But also at my company where I'm back now, like, I hired a bunch of people from the campaign, so now we're doing the same kind of content and doing the storytelling for other organizations, advocacy groups that are about issues like the American Red Cross, things like that, where the story's not being told and people aren't doing a good job really communicating directly in a sort of polished way with supporters.
My question is actually twofold. First of all, what was the main aim of this new media campaign? Was it to make people vote for Obama, or was it to brand him, or to make him have a more human face, sort of? And secondly, how successful was it? I mean, has there been any kind of measurable effect? I mean, of course, yeah. But in terms of how much did it contribute to him being elected as president in the end? How much did this actually influence? Like in percent or something, or has it been measured at all to what extent it contributed to having him being voted as the president?
Yeah. The great thing about the web is that you can measure everything. So the 2,000 YouTube videos that we posted were viewed more than 150 million times. And if you add up all the time people spent watching, it adds up to 1.2 billion minutes of consumed video. And that's just our campaign-created content. 1.2 billion minutes. That's like 2,000 years if one person sat and watched it all the way through. And so, but not just people watching it, because that's not necessarily an end in itself. The question is, what's the impact of people watching it?
Right.
We got a lot of people to watch it. We can stipulate that. But the impact of people watching it was that we had a deeper relationship with our supporters. So when people view that Dinner with Barack little promo video, we can measure whether more people give money after watching that video as opposed to not watching that video. Same thing with telling the story of training videos and educational type of stuff that we did, or showing what it's like to go knock on doors with your neighbors and things like that, or make phone calls. We produced many different videos that would tell the story in different ways, or is it fun? Like, for instance, that bike video, a lot of people decided to make phone calls after the bike video. So we used the content in the context of getting people to do something. So just saying, hey, can you make some phone calls from home to voters who are undecided? people were like, we're winning in the polls, and you know, like, why do I need to do that? And so, you know, 2% of people would do it. Show them that video, and people start to freak out, right? They think it's funny and whatever, but they're like, yeah, you know, they want, you know, they want to do it, and so then that can double the amount of people doing that. And when you're talking about a big group of people, if you're emailing 10 million people asking them to do that, the difference in raw numbers in terms of the number of people willing to do something actually makes a huge impact. And the long story is that, short is that this stuff was for the Army, right? And so we were trying to motivate and educate and inspire the army of people who were going to go do the work. So there was some stuff, like we made a documentary about John McCain's involvement in the economic crisis in the 80s and, you know, the late 80s, you know, and that had polished graphics, and, you know, we did some interviews and made a little documentary about that. And some of that's for, you know, undecided voters, and they play it on cable news, and it's on CNN all day and things like that. But for the most part, we were focused on trying to motivate the troops to, you know, go out and knock on more doors, make more phone calls, you know, give another $5 or $10.
He said about, I think he told it twice, without effort connected to the cause, and that we can make a difference right now. I mean, as I don't know, future film directors, could you maybe be more precise? What is the cause right now, and what difference? I mean, what can be done?
Yeah.
Because the campaign is over here.
No, and I don't mean on Obama's campaign. I mean about whatever you are interested in. So whether it's the development of the new, you know, art center or whatever here in the cities, or it's the political party that you believe in, or it's you know, a humanitarian type of cause to help Darfur, or something to help homeless people, or whatever it is that you as an individual, if there's something that you're passionate about, you can take time and go plug in and actually tell that story of that organization or that issue or that cause, and make a huge impact by doing that creatively, so that the content that people will see around these different organizations and these different causes isn't all made by people who write press releases for a living, right? That you can tell, if you know, if you can tell a story really well with any type of organization or cause, it can have a huge impact in the work that you're doing. And I think people underestimate their own ability to contribute.
Isn't there a comment in the first clip that you showed, the guy saying the campaign just gives us the tools?
Yeah. It's everybody can, you know, if there's something that you're passionate about, that means, and you have the skills and the artistic acumen to actually tell the story, you're going to be probably one of the best storytellers that exists to tell the story of that organization or that cause or that issue. And I think that what people discovered, you know, people who were making documentaries or doing stuff in Hollywood, when they came to the campaign, they were like, oh my God, I can use my skills that I have to actually affect an outcome, right? And to contribute to something that I believe in. And even for people who are in the arts and doing, you know, lucky enough to do incredible work in storytelling fields, that's a whole different level of contribution in art that people had. And we saw an outpouring of people, whether it was you know, designers, and, you know, illustrators, writers, you know, filmmakers. All of these people were really eager to use their craft to help support the cause, and it's a special thing.